that feeling when you read a story that just sticks with you, but you can't quite put into words why? Well, today we're going to tackle that exact problem. We are breaking down how to write a text-dependent analysis, or a TDA, and we're going to use Julia Alvarez's amazing story Names/Nombres as our guide to walk through the whole thing step by step. Right out of the gate, Alvarez throws us right into the heart of the conflict. I mean, listen to that line. It's not just about getting a name wrong, it's about losing an entire orchestra of sound. It's about losing a piece of who you are. This single question, asked right at the border of a new life, really sets the stage for everything to come. And that's the big question, isn't it? You finish a story like this, you feel it, you get it on a gut level, but how do you translate that feeling into a sharp, structured, and persuasive essay? That's the leap we're going to make together today. So here's our game plan. We'll start by brainstorming the big idea behind the story. Then we'll shape that into a rock-solid thesis. After that, we'll build up our argument with proof from the text, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with a conclusion that really leaves an impact. Ready? Let's dive in. Okay, first things first. Before you can even think about writing, you have to find the story's core, its heart. And listen, this is not about just retelling the plot. It's about being a detective and digging for that deeper message the author is trying to get across. So let's ask ourselves that question right now. Is Names/Nombres just a story about a girl whose name gets messed up a lot? Or is there something way bigger going on beneath the surface? To figure that out, we have to look for patterns in the text itself. Let's start gathering our clues. A clear pattern pops up almost immediately, right? The immigration officer turns Alvarez into Albuerez. At school, Julia becomes Judy. Even her mom and sister's names get simplified. But what's really telling is how Julia reacts. At one point, she desperately wants to merge with the Sallys and Janes and even resents her old-world folk relatives. And then you get this beautiful moment where her father calls out her real name, Julita. So when you lay all those clues out, a central idea just crystallizes. This story isn't just about names. It's about this constant, painful tug-of-war between holding on to your culture and the intense pressure to fit in, to assimilate. That tension? That's the core idea. That's the engine of our entire essay. All right, we've got our big idea. Now we need to forge it into the single most important sentence of our essay, the thesis statement. Think of it as your North Star. It's the one point in the sky that's going to guide every single word you write from here on out. So what is a thesis, really? It's your argument's North Star. It's not a fact. It has to be an arguable claim, something someone could potentially disagree with, that you're going to spend the rest of the essay proving. It basically tells your reader, here's what I'm arguing, and here's how I see it.
Now, this is so important. Look at the difference here. The weak thesis on the left just summarizes the plot. It's a fact. You can't really argue with it. But the strong thesis on the right, that's an argument. It claims Alvarez uses the mispronunciations as a tool to explore a deeper conflict. See the difference? That's an interpretation, and that's what you can build an entire essay on.
With our North Star in place, it's time to actually build our case. This is where the body paragraphs come in. This is where we prove our thesis is true, using cold, hard evidence from the story. Each paragraph is like a pillar holding up your main argument. The best way to build those pillars is with a simple but super powerful formula. CEA. Claim, Evidence, Analysis. You make a claim that supports your big thesis. You provide evidence, a direct quote, to back it up. Then, and this is key, you analyze it. You explain why that evidence matters. It's just like a lawyer in a courtroom. Let's see it in action. Okay, for our first body paragraph, here's our claim. We're going to argue that the older generation, specifically the mother, tries to justify these changes to their names as no big deal, just a way to make life easier. Next, we need our proof. And here it is, a perfect quote. This is what Julia's mother says when Julia is upset about her name being changed. And now for the most important part, the analysis. We don't just drop the quote and walk away. We have to explain it. This comment from her mom isn't just a casual remark. It shows she's actively trying to downplay what they're losing, framing it as a small, necessary price to pay for acceptance in this new world. Let's do another one. This claim focuses on the flip side of the coin, the narrator's own internal struggle. It's not just about her parents' choices, but about her own complicated feelings. And the evidence for this is so raw, so honest. This is a direct look inside her head as a teenager, where her own family and her heritage feel like an obstacle to becoming the American girl she wants to be. And again, we connect the dots with our analysis. This isn't just typical teenage angst. It shows just how deeply she's internalized that pressure to fit in, so much that she's willing to erase her own family, her own background, to become this new person, Judy Alcatraz.
All right, we've built our case with strong pillars of evidence. Now it's time to bring it all home. A good conclusion does way more than just summarize what you've already said. It's your final chance to leave a lasting impression on your reader. A simple three-step method works wonders here. First, restate your thesis but use different words. Then, quickly bring your main points together. How the parents rationalized the changes and how Julia struggled with them. And then you end with one final big picture thought that makes the reader go,
And here's a little pro tip for that final thought. A really powerful move is to connect it right back to the original story. The best conclusions often echo the author's own final thoughts, which brings your analysis full circle and shows you have a really deep understanding of the text. And honestly, Alvarez gives us the perfect line to echo. After all that struggle, the conflict isn't neatly tied up with a bow. She knows she'll be famous, but the question of her true identity, which name, which self she'll ultimately choose, is still up in the air. It's such a beautiful, haunting ending that really captures the ongoing nature of this journey. So there you have it. We've walked through the entire playbook from finding that one big idea all the way to crafting that final, memorable sentence. You now have the tools, the formula to break down any story you come across. So the only question left is, what story are you going to analyze next?